All right, I've given it some thought, and I think that I can finish this fencing project before the bad weather hits. So yesterday morning, before I went to Columbus with my son, I ran to Lowe's and I picked up some treated lumber, screws, and other things that I thought that I was going to need to finish this section and the side section over here. And I'm going to change the design of this a little bit. I'm not going to have this top plate on it anymore. I'm going to go just with the posts and caps, and the laterals above the laterals, there's about a 2.5-inch reveal on the top of those posts right there. So that's not going to be the same, because I'm going to try to use some of the existing posts that are already here. Now some of them are bad, and I'm going to have to unbolt them, unscrew them, and replace those. But in order for me to keep the majority of them, I'm going to have to keep it, as just a barely a reveal at all over that top lateral. And I'll show you maybe down on the other end. That's how that side ended up. But this morning I came out and I got into this side rail over here with the chainsaw and the sledgehammer and tore it out. And I'll turn the camera around and show you what my plans are. And then hopefully here within the next week or so, I'm going to get all of this front railing done and those pickets back on. And I borrowed some baker scaffold from my brother-in-law so that I can work right off the surface of the concrete and hopefully make this job go a little easier. But let me turn the camera around and show you what I got done. All right, there's my regular reveal that I have, and it's about 2.5 inches from the top of the lateral to that upper section there. And what I did over here when I put in this post, I made it so that it would kind of align with these other posts. It is going to have barely anything above it, just enough room to put that cap on. And actually what I'm going to have to do over here is when I put this sleeve on this post, it's going to have to actually come up here about 1/2 inch, so that the cap, when it sits on there, is actually going to be in a hollow section of that. And another thing that I worked on this morning, other than ripping and tearing, when I put these laterals on the front of this fence, they are bolted right to the front. There's no holes or slots for the laterals to go into. So, and I'm going to mount them the same way. And I'm going to screw right through the outside surface with somewhat matching screws to the vinyl color. And there will be joints halfway. It'll be on the other side, but there's going to be 2 screws and 2 screws at the joint. Now, I've kind of laid it out so that the vinyl is not going to fall on those joints. I've made some measurements, and I actually took a heater, a heat gun, and warmed this section up. And to flare that out, I took this over on my shopsmith with a Dremel tool, and I made it tapered, but then also on the inside I made it tapered. So when I heated it up, I actually made a flare in that. So this is going to be my tool for making this flare. And then once they're overlapped, when I go to put the joint together, I will take silicone, that almond silicone, put it around there, and then here's a squared off end of that piece that I'm going to use for a tool, and I'm going to slide it right over like by 1/2 inch. And then I'll take silicone and I'll go around that, and hopefully that's going to keep out moisture from getting into those laterals. But down here on the other end, like I said, I took the chainsaw out, cut off this, and that pole that was right on the corner, and that pole were only surface mounted, and this one actually went down through the deck, and you can see that hole in the concrete. So I'm just going to take an auger bit, take that down about 6 or 8 inches, flatten it off with the diamond saw because it was finished up to the pole and it kind of went up to it. I'll flatten that off and I'll fill it with some concrete and level it off. But then I'm going to take off these 2 deck boards like I did on the other side, and I'm going to mount this pole straight up. And then I'm also going to put this pole mounted to the back of these header boards, and then out there I'm going to do exactly like I did the other end and notch it and put that corner post in where there wasn't one before. And then I'll rip and tear all of that off and find out which ones are bad, replace those, and then start putting this thing together. All right, the rain stayed away, but boy did it cool down. It's really nice out now. And I got this corner post set into place, and I've got the carriage bolts through it, but I don't have the lag bolts in from the other side, or the timber screws. This one is just sitting there because it is not going to go into the ground because it runs into the retaining wall down there. And this one I'm going to have to dig, and I took my brother-in-law's post hole diggers back, so I'm going to have to run over and grab one of those and get that dug down. But what I'm going to do now is, this is not attached yet. I have a couple screws in this end to hold it where they go, and then it looks like I need about a 1/4 inch spacer under that to make these laterals level. So I'm going to put that under there, make sure that these are level, and then I'm going to go ahead and lag in from through that joist and those headers over there, and secure that post into place. And then tomorrow, well, this way I'll put up the caution tape for the evening so that I don't have to worry about anybody walking off the end. But then I'll have to dig that hole, place that post, and actually I'll measure how long these laterals need to be, and I'll get those covered with the vinyl cladding, the posts covered with the vinyl cladding, and start putting the pickets on. All right, I ended up putting a 1/2 inch spacer under that post in order to get that lateral level. This post in the corner that just has the carriage bolts in it so far, where are we? Let me get this down where you can see it. Plumb that direction, and then we'll go this direction over here, and there's plumb that direction. So we should be in good shape to lag that in, and put some caution tape up. day set for the night. Tomorrow's another day. All right, it's the next morning. It rained last night. I went over this morning, picked up my brother-in-law's post hole digger again. I came up, I used the level off the inside of that joist, and then calculated how deep my holes go into that particular post. I've marked it off. Going to get rid of these after I take it apart. I've got the pole to go into here. I'm going to have to dig it to hold the right grade, but the two posts, the one that goes here and the next one, has a 2-inch or 2.5-inch reveal, and the one out on the end out there goes down to that barely nothing as far as going over the top of that upper lateral. So I'll get this thing apart and we'll get that post put in, or I'll get that post put in, and then I'm going to go in, get the vinyl sleeves cut and plane down these laterals so that those sleeves fit over those, and hopefully I will be able to get the pickets put on this section today. This post hole is dug. I went below grade so that I would have extra concrete underneath the post that I have, so that it'll get below the frost line that we have in this area. I also clearanced along that side over there and that side in order to get concrete all around the post as I set it up against this floor joist and that header. And then what I'm going to do now is go in, cut those boards to length, and get the vinyl put on those, get the vinyl cladding cut for those two posts and the post that's going in here, and then I am hopefully going to assemble this by this end so I don't have to take out that end post or that middle post. But we'll see how that works, and I can do that on a dry run before I get the concrete in. And if that doesn't work, I'll get this post set before and try to put it in from that far end if I have to, but we'll see. All right, all the vinyl is on the laterals. I've got all the sleeves cut for the posts. I've got it on the end one towards the pool, the middle one, and I've got this one sitting here for the post yet to be set. So what I'm going to try to do is slide in these laterals, and then I'm going to try to set this post right here. So I'm going to set it up on time lapse and see how this works out. there's that section almost done. I ran out of caps, so I'll have to cover that up so it doesn't let a lot of rainwater in there. But I'm going to pull off each one of these end ones here so that I can caulk that joint. So there's 1, 2, 3, and a 4th one down there. I'll remove those again, but I'll have holes to line those pickets up to, so they'll go back in that 1/4 inch down like I've got them held. And I will get that caulked and get those back on. And for now, this section is going to be done. All right, this section right here is all but complete, and the next and last section of this fence project is right there. And I'm going to set up some scaffold and start from the far end, and I'm going to work myself across like in 12-foot sections so that I can hopefully get this done before the snow flies. The last 4 poles down there need to have some adjustment done to them to get them out in a straight line, so I'll work on that. But first I'm going to pull up the first 2 rows of decking boards so that my sleeves will go all the way down to the floor joist. And over here you saw this jack that I was using. I picked that up at a garage sale, and I think the sticker is still on it somewhere. But that was the first time I had used it. No, I don't see the sticker anymore. It must have fallen off. But I paid 25 bucks for that thing at a garage sale. And it was working a little stiff, so I put some oil on it, and it works like a charm. But I'm not gonna put it on time lapse for ripping up all those decking boards. I'll get back to this when I get a little farther along. All right, that part of the job is done. The decking is removed 2 rows back, and the poles need to be pushed out towards the pool area. I'll get that string line back out. I swept up all my sawdust with my Works vac. It's meant for leaves, but I use it for sawdust. Can't get anything big in it. But down on the deck, I still have a mess down there that I'll have to pick up and take care of. But I'm going to go get some shims for these posts at the bottom and some more of those timber screws, because they've got, when they installed this, there's lag bolts in both directions. Easier to see the 2 over here, and then kind of in the shade here, but there's 2 more right on that side of the post. But I'll get these plumbed back up, and then I'll get to putting on the laterals and the vinyl on these posts. All right, just got back from the box store. I bought 2 boxes of these 4-inch screws. They call them framing screws. They're just a miniature version of these timber screws that I've been using to secure in the posts into place. But those are going to go right through the face of this, so they're going to be exposed. And what I'm going to do is I also picked up some paint that somewhat matches that. I'm going to take a bunch of these because each one of the posts is going to have a minimum of 4 screws in it, and some will have 8. But I'm going to go ahead and pre-paint a bunch of these so they don't clash so much with the fence itself, and get those drying so that by the time I get these posts plumbed up using these plastic shims and these 5-inch timber screws. They'll be dry and ready to go for putting up the laterals. And the other thing I'm going to do on these laterals, that end post, the corner post over there, I'm going to run this past. So the post is going to be 2 inches, well, the end of the lateral is going to be 2 inches past the end of the post. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to make a filler plug for this. And on my gate, when I had tried to screw close to the end, it kind of squeezed the piece that I had for a filler piece and wanted to shove it out. And I actually had a couple of them come out, and I had to downsize them and re-silicone them into place. But I'm going to run them past about 2 inches, and the screw will be about that far from the end. Hopefully, the other thing I showed you in, I think it was the last video, that I'm going to made up a little form to flare the ends of the lateral out. So I'm going to not actually get everything screwed together at one time, because the next one's going to come on, slide onto it. All right, I'm putting the first lateral in after I've sleeved the posts and plumbed those up. And I made up this little template just out of a piece of one of the laterals, so that when I go to put these screws in, they all look the same, except for when I get down to where there's going to be a joint. And then I'll make up another one that is similar but has 4 holes in it. That lateral only goes halfway across that post, but I'm going to get this one screwed into place, come down here, and that's how I was holding it to height. I just put a clamp underneath of it, set it on top, and then used a bar clamp to secure it till I got everything in the location I wanted it. That's all that's going to get done for tonight, but that was a day's worth of work and learning. And I'm going to take you back up here real quick and show you how I'm going to make that splice. I explained it in the last fence video, but it's a little easier to show right here. All right, I'm not going to end up with just butt joints and have them landing at the end, so that I end up with this section here that's going to need to be caulked. I took a small piece of this, let me grab it here, lateral material, this vinyl, and I just tapered it. And then I heated up the end of just a scrap piece, and hopefully it'll get a little better as I do this more. But I'll take a full 10-foot section, and the end that is going to go here, I'm gonna have it flared, and I'm gonna set the camera down a second, and because I have to push this back and pull this out in order to get that up on there, and I'll show you what it's gonna look like. But first off, before I get it on there, I would get some caulk on that tapered spot back in there, and then some caulking around that, so when I push the two together, it'll squeeze out, and then I can just smooth it out, or maybe just put a bead of caulk around the outside. Right, there it is, just about up on, and I'm gonna just grab it, shove it, and it's gonna lap over like that, and I'm just gonna run a smooth bead of caulk around the whole thing, and hopefully between that and the caulk that's on the inside, it'll be a watertight joint, and I won't have to worry about water getting in there. And then just like I've done on the other ones, I'll screw right through, but it'll go down another 10 foot, and I'll just keep making those kinds of joints as I go along.